What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Draft Geeks podcast. We got our second positional preview of the 2026 NFL draft. We're going to be doing the running back rankings. Obviously, kind of like the quarterbacks, there's a clear-cut number one, but who comes after him and in what order, we'll find out. So hopefully you guys are ready because the Draft Geeks podcast starts right now.
Welcome into another episode of the Draft Geeks podcast, everybody. Here we've got our running back rankings for you guys, our top 10 running backs. We'll talk through some of our honorable mentions as well. This is an exciting show. It's our first show post-Super Bowl, our first show where it's officially draft season for all 32 teams. Jace is mourning the loss of the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 60, but I think he's had his fair share of Super Bowls. Jace, aside from the game, how are you doing?
I mean, since my life kind of revolves around football, I guess.
Let's talk, no,
I mean, it's the end of the world. The Patriots need the number one overall pick. They don't have a franchise quarterback. Mike Vrabel sucks as coach. Schedule was too easy. I mean, he's everything, right? I got all that. I got all that going through my head right now. No, I mean, obviously it sucks, but I am excited for draft season. I think it just proves that how good Seattle was compared to everyone. And listen, like New England, they had a pretty easy schedule. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'm not going to be naive to that, but that's a dang good football team that was out there and they just got outclassed and they need a couple more holes. And the NFL draft is what that's for. So I'm glad we do a podcast together because not only do I get to do it because I love it, I get to do it and hopefully identify a bunch of targets the Patriots could take to get back to the Super Bowl sooner rather than later.
This might not be the show for that because I think they're in good shape with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson, but stay tuned for our offensive tackle episode. We'll see if we bring up any guards in that episode, but maybe that's a theme we'll try to keep out of it this year.
Let's jump right into our 10 through 4. So first off, if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Please be active in the comments, guys. This is a lot better when you guys bring in your opinions, talk about these prospects with us. And then if you guys are listening on Apple or Spotify, hop on over to the YouTube and subscribe so you guys can join the live stream next time we do this. But let's start with you, Max. You're going to read off our 10 through 4. I'll read off my 10 through 4, and then we'll kind of start with some similarities that we have.
Well, I'm going to do something. We'll keep it a little easier on the ears for everybody. Let's go 10 through 7 first. And then see, we'll dive into those 6 through 4 later on. But I've got Seth McGowan from Kentucky at 10, Kalon Black from Indiana at 9, Emmett Johnson from Nebraska at 8, and Katron Allen from Penn State at 7.
I also have Seth McGowan from Kentucky at 10, Katron Fatman Allen from Penn State at 9, Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest at 8, and then Le'Veon Moss at 7. Now, before we get into these guys, is there anyone that you left off your list that you felt like could have made this 10 through 7?
Yeah, well, you'll talk about one guy for me. So I won't bring him up. But one guy, I guess, just to touch on real quick is Jamari Taylor from Virginia. I didn't think Jamari Taylor was some super special player, but I think at 5'9", 205, he's a, one cut and get you 3 yards kind of guy, powerful frame, strong dude. I think he's got good hands out of the backfield. So undersized guy with some power in his frame that can bring you some mitts on third down. I think he can be a third down back for somebody. And Jamari Taylor is a name that I think people should know on day 3, but that's kind of the one guy that I watched that I was like, I would have loved to get him in my rankings, but there's 2 more that I don't have that you will talk through.
Well, and my number 11 is a guy that's in your top 6. So I'll save that for later, not to spoil the episode. But the other guy that I want to mention, and it's so hard because he hasn't been good for a couple of years. He's been dealing with injuries, but he had a really good Senior Bowl. I still have some belief in Jaden Ott.
Yeah,
he had a good Senior Bowl. I think he's explosive. In summer scouting, I really liked him. I think I had him as running back 3, but he's a transfer from Cal to Oklahoma. He missed a bunch of games in 2024 because he had an ankle injury. But in 2023, he was a 1,300-yard rusher, 12 touchdowns for Cal. He had elite explosiveness. His home run speed is there. Like, he has that extra gear. He can change the game both in the run and in the pass. He has really good lateral agility. So I couldn't put him in my top 10, but that's a guy that for a couple years, a lot of people have known about him. And the last couple years, his draft stock has fallen, but then he had a bounce back at the Senior Bowl. We'll see combine, how he tests and things like that. But I'm excited to watch him, hopefully, because I do think that he was someone that could have been really productive in the NFL if he can stay on the field, which has been a problem for him the last 2 years.
You know, we won't see how he tests at the combine because the people—
Did he get left off too?
The people who are in charge of the combine had the most brutal year. They got three. I'm glad you said this. You can let me get on my soapbox for a second, but 319 people get invited to the NFL combine. We left Jaden Ott at home, a guy that was potentially a top 3 back going into this year, transferring to Oklahoma for whatever reason, got 21 carries for 68 yards this year. Great Senior Bowl, arrows pointing back up for the guy, snubbed. Tyron Montgomery from John Carroll, Division III, started playing football in 2024. Unbelievable Senior Bowl, was one of the top 2-3 wide receivers there. Not invited. Keyshawn James Newby, edge rusher from New Mexico, who's bounced around from NAIA to FCS, now to the Mountain West, was top 10 in the nation in pressures, snubbed. The list goes on and on. I will talk about one guy in my top 10 who didn't get a combine invite. So just wanted to give a negative shout out as we, try to tend to avoid here on the podcast. But no problem dissing the people who put together the list of combine invites this year. Pretty poor job leaving out some very notable names. We got 319 people. I think 324 would have been just fine.
The combine people and the Hall of Fame people are fighting on who can be the most hated.
Yeah.
What is it? Committee or whatever it is this year. They both got some crazy ones. I knew there were a couple other snubs, but I didn't know that he did not get invited, especially after, like you said, being a Senior Bowl standout and a guy that you're kind of like, he could use the combine. Like he really could use the combine.
That's what the combine's for. Combine should be salivating over Jaden Ott, but I guess not.
So let's start at number 10. Seth McGowan, our Kentucky guy. You go ahead and start off with him, and then I'll wrap it up.
Seth McGowan right away reminded me of Isaiah Pacheco a little bit. I don't know if you got that vibe, but this dude is a violent runner, puts every limb he has into every step. There's a lot of motion with his running style. He's a violent runner, stands over 6 feet tall, 215 pounds. The guy is, I think, 24, 25 years old. So already, going to push him down the board for some teams. He's dealt with some legal trouble, definitely operating on a second chance after getting kicked off the team for some fairly serious legal issues when he was at Oklahoma. Found himself at Kentucky, and he has, run nearly 2,000 yards in his career, and he's a productive receiver. So this guy's got talent. He's a little bit of an older player. There's some character red flags. But I think, he's not the most flashy back, but good leg drive. And I think he's a very solid check down option with a good first step. I think he's a change of pace running back who can give you some chain moving flavor, whether it's in a mid distance run or as a receiver out of the backfield. But I think the age and, some potential character uncertainties kept him from being any higher than 10 for me.
Yeah, I mean, he has the frame, 6'1", 215, like you said. Rushed for 730 yards, 12 touchdowns this year. He's got the frame to be a short yardage goal line back, in my opinion, and that's how he runs. He's physical. I thought he was really good when Kentucky did a bunch of gap scheme stuff. Good acceleration through the hole, but he lacks that home run speed. He's a straight line guy, in my opinion. He's not very wiggly, doesn't make dudes miss very well. And then he only had 4.4 yards per carry this year. That's just not productive enough, in my opinion. Now, you can blame a lot of that on Kentucky's O-line probably, but still, when you have a guy who's not being very productive yards per carry wise in college, I just don't love the translation into the NFL, especially like you said, with the concerns about his off the field stuff, with the concerns of his age. He's explosive. He's fun to watch. I think he'd be a really good, like you mentioned, change of pace back that can fit next to a true elite number one, take a couple, 5-6 carries off of a guy, especially in the short yardage goal line situation so that they're not getting with the wear and tear. But I would be hard pressed to find this guy making it to a second contract and still be like a number one option if he even is a number one guy. So fun watch, bounced around a couple times. I'm thinking of who bounced around? No, Mike Washington.
Mike Washington.
That's
yeah,
who it
but
is.
Seth McGowan bounced around too. He junior college stop between Oklahoma and Kentucky. So lots of guys in this class that have bounced around.
I mean, as do most people in college football nowadays, but still bouncing around with the legal issues, like you said, a little bit of a concern for just what NFL teams will want. And so I could see him being a 6th-round pick. That's probably, 6th or 7th, someone taking a chance on him, getting him in, in camp, see if he can make anything, potentially make a roster as a running back 2, probably a running back 3, in my opinion. But there's guys on this list that are a little bit more explosive, a little bit more wiggly, and provide a little bit more in the run and pass game than a guy like Seth McGowan, who came in at 10 for both of us.
I'll also say I really wanted him to be a much better pass blocker. I think he kind of hurts himself with his ability to play on 3rd down, because I thought he was a limited pass blocker for as good of a receiver as he may be. And then only 2.7 yards after contact per attempt, which is just not what you want to see from a player of that stature. Number 9, you want to lead us off with Katron Allen, or you want me to cover Kalon Black real quick?
Cover Kalon Black because he's not on my list and he wouldn't have made my top 12. So you cover him real quick, and then I'll share with you kind of just the brief stuff I had on him.
So I thought Kalon Black really stood out with his contact balance. I think he's a tough runner. I liked his vision, and I do think he's a really good and physical pass blocker. I think that'll get him on the field and get him onto a roster. I think he's got pop to get to the 2nd level, get through the 2nd level, but he's not going to wow you with his speed. He was somebody I really wanted to see his 10-yard split at the combine. I knew his 40 wouldn't wow you, but I thought the 10-yard split would be very important. It will be important at the pro day. We just won't be able to trust it because the 1B option on a national championship team did not get invited to the NFL combine, which was pretty disappointing. He's a 24-year-old back, so we'll see how much that has to do with it. I think he's a really good A to B gap, just pounder, runner, straightforward, no BS kind of guy. His archetype reminded me a little bit of Kyle Monangai, somebody that I really liked last year. A little bit of an older player, but I think Kalon Black could give you a really productive first contract, maybe bounce around for a couple teams in some years after that. So I think with Black, I think of a guy like Gus Edwards. I think of a guy like Kyle Monangai. I think those guys won't have draft capital invested in them. Monangai was a 7th rounder. Gus Edwards went undrafted. Both Rutgers guys, actually. And so Kalon Black, I'm not expecting him to be drafted any higher than the 5th or 6th round. It wouldn't shock me if he goes undrafted, but I would be pretty hurt by that, just as a believer in him. But I think he's somebody that makes a roster, gets on the field because of his pass blocking ability. And I don't think he's going to lose you many yards, just because I think he's an attacking runner, physical guy with good enough vision to stick around, just not going to hit many home runs. So he's not the most exciting, but I like him enough to have him at 9 in this class.
Yeah, listen, I really liked watching both him and his teammate, Roman Hemby, who we'll talk about here in a minute, for Indiana. But I just think with his smaller frame at 5'10", he doesn't provide much in the passing game. I will say he is one of the better pass pro guys in this class. Like he steps up and smokes dudes.
I think that's why he gets on the field. That's my hope for him is, the no rock, no block, no rock kind of thing. I think he's a yes block, yes rock.
And I could see that because there's teams that want that. Like there are teams that will value him being able to get on the field and pass pro. Now, when we're talking about running back episodes, I just don't see that he, with his limited receiving profile, with a little bit smaller frame, I don't know if he can handle a very heavy workload. I don't think he's explosive enough to make guys miss. He has good yards after contact, but I don't think he makes them miss very well. And so he's consistently taking hits. Listen, he's really fun to watch in college. Big fan of his game. I don't have him in my top 10, and I would have had him outside of my top 12 if we would have expanded this episode. So listen, if he gets drafted in the late rounds and he makes a team because he can block, that's great. And I do think he will make an impact because he runs so hard and stuff, but I just don't see him being a consistent contributor. I can see why you say the Kyle Monangai comp, like he runs hard like him, but I don't see him being anywhere near as productive as a Kyle Monangai. And I know that's not what you mean when you comp him to him.
The prospect,
still,
not
the prospect,
800-yard rusher.
Yeah, I just don't even think he could come close to that. And if he does, I'll bite my tongue. But that's kind of where I stand on Kalon Black.
No, it's I hear you because it's tough to buy into a guy that doesn't make many players miss at the running back position the way the NFL looks right now. I just think I'm attached to what I saw him do in that championship run this season for Indiana after coming over from James Madison. Um, and I just love the physicality. And I think what he brings as a pass blocker gives him a definite role, whereas the rest of the guys behind him in this class, I'm not sure what their role is. So that's kind of what Kalon Black did to get to 9th in my rankings, but I totally understand him being beyond that for a lot of people.
And he's another older prospect. I believe he was
He's
3 years
24.
at JMU. Yeah, he was 3 years at JMU, 2 years at Indiana, was with Cignetti his whole time. And so he's going to be another guy that's a little bit older and will get pushed down boards because of that, especially at the running back position. So let's move on to Fat Man Katron Allen, my number 9, your number 7. I'll start him off here.
Yeah.
I was super impressed with this guy this year, and it feels a little bit low because of the season. He had 1,300 yards, 15 touchdowns. Thought he was super productive, 6.2 yards per carry. He was a second-team All-American, all Big Ten selection. He was Penn State's all-time leading rusher. He became that this year with over 4,100 career yards. This is a big dude, stout, muscly dude. Great frame for the NFL. He's hard to tackle. Guys bounce off of him or he just runs them over. He's really good at making one cut and getting downhill. Contact balance because of how he's built. So stout, thick lower body. He runs through contact, like we said, and he doesn't get thrown off of it very well. And then he's got really good short area quickness. Once he knows where he wants to go, he hits the hole. But this guy's lack of speed as a home run hitter, his lateral agility to make people miss. I don't think he's he doesn't read it very well consistently. I think he's a very average, maybe below average wide receiver. And this is another guy that I think could just be a scheme fit in the NFL. And there's a scheme for him. Trust me. There is a team that will use him 8 to 10 times in short yardage goal line and red zone opportunities just to take carries off, and he will be effective. I'm not saying he won't be an effective NFL running back. I just don't think that has some of the things that I look for in a running back when I'm talking about some of these guys that we'll talk about here in the top 8 for me. But I see why you have him at 7. I see why someone likes him. I see why they're interested by him because of how big he is, how he makes guys just look silly when they try to tackle him. He's so hard to bring down with just one guy. It's consistently 2 or 3. So listen, he had a great year this year. Really like him. Think that he's going to have a solid NFL career, but there's other guys on this list that have better traits that I would bet on it as a running back.
I think power, leg drive, and short yardage situations are the story for Katron Allen. I think his role right off the bat is his ability to convert in those short yardage and goal line situations. Guy had 43 total touchdowns in his college career, nearly 4,200 yards. So he's been a workhorse for Penn State. And I think he can, he won't get 20 touch games in the NFL, but I think he can carry the load of being that 3rd and 1 guy, 4th and 1 guy, 4th and inches guy, 3rd and goal from the 2. Then Katron Allen has an immediate impact for a team that struggles to punch the ball into the end zone. And I think that's kind of the specific fit you were talking about. He's not a great receiver. I think he's an effective enough check down option to be used there, but not going to offer you much more than that. And, not a super shifty or explosive player, but he's a great power running back. And that's kind of why he lands at 7 for me. And I think that he should fall between that, 10 to 5 range for most people.
Yeah. I mean, this is a guy that I could see replacing someone like a David Montgomery in Detroit.
Yeah.
Running next to Jahmyr Gibbs, taking carries off of them, big stout runner. That's the type of role I see him in there. And David Montgomery's a way better running back than him, just all around. But if you're saying, hey, we're moving off of him and Jahmyr Gibbs is straight up number 1, but we don't want to give him the short yardage stuff, how they use those guys. That's where I could see him making an impact. So
how about the Seahawks?
It'll be interesting.
With Charbonnet's injury, they bring back Kenneth Walker.
Could.
Katron, listen, he's 5'11", 220, but he plays bigger than that 220.
He does.
This is a big dude who will rock some linebackers in the A-gap. I'm excited to see. I know it translates.
Yeah. No, it's hard not to have that translate just because he has the build and he has the mentality to do it. Yes. That's, the hard thing. Most guys that want to run hard don't have the build, or most guys that are big, they don't want to run hard, and he has both of those. And so there's something that's going to translate there for him. Just how effective and how well he is and what he's used as will be what, we'll find out here in a couple months.
Our number 8 and our number 6 are both mixed and matched. So my number 6 is Damon Claiborne from Wake Forest. He's your number 8. My number 8 is Emmett Johnson, your number 6. So I'll let you take your pick. You want to cover the Nebraska kid, Wake Forest kid first?
Let's go with Damon Claiborne.
All right.
A little bit smaller of a running back,
Yeah.
5'10", 195, 909 yards, 10 touchdowns this year. This guy was, when I was like scouting him and watching his film, it reminded me of how I felt when I watched DJ Giddens last year. Like,
oh yeah,
the way he makes dudes miss, his cutting ability, how shifty he is second to none, I would say, in this class. I mean, there's a couple obviously, but like he's up there. He's very patient. He lets blocks set up. He has good burst when he decides to hit it or when he sees it. He has good contact balance, even though he is 5'10". It's not easy to knock him off, with arm tackles or whatever. He does have really good hands out of the backfield. And then I love his special teams value. He has 2 career kickoff return touchdowns. I believe he averaged like 24 yards per kickoff return. So he adds that as a 4th or 5th round guy. You're going to say, hey, let's put you back on kickoff, see if you can't house one. And, with his, elite ability to make guys miss. That's kind of what it's turning into right now in the kickoff game, because it's not as, full speed down the field. If you can make 1 or 2 guys miss, you can easily get out to the 45. So, but his size limitations, lack of pass pro, doesn't have the final gear. Sometimes I do think he gets a little bit too cute and too patient behind the line of scrimmage, where sometimes like, listen, I know you're 5'10", 185, but you might just need to put your head down and go get 3 or 4 yards instead of sit. Now you lost 2. Now you lost 1. Now you got none. So that would be my one gripe with him. But again, you're not expecting him just to be able to throw it in there and just leg drive his way to 3 or 4 yards like Katron Allen could. So love his ability in open space. Love how he makes guys miss in a phone booth. Like I said, reminded me, if you guys watched last year, how how me and Max both love DJ Giddens.
What a stud.
It's still early on DJ Giddens.
Oh yeah, we got time.
But maybe I learned a little bit like, okay, listen, he might get drafted high, but will he be a year 1 contributor? Maybe not. But I really like this guy's game. And I do think that there will be teams that will value him a little bit more just because of what he does in space to linebackers, safeties, defensive ends.
I think he reminds me a little bit of Keaton Mitchell from that kind of role that we've seen in the NFL. I think Damon Claiborne fits really well behind a team whose RB1 is a power-based player. So teams that have Jahmyr Gibbs or Kenneth Walker leading their backfield, I think might be less attracted to Damon Claiborne because he does a lot of what those guys do better. They do it better than he does it. But listen, this guy can flat out fly. He hit over 22.5 miles an hour multiple times in his career at Wake Forest during games. Great acceleration, gets downhill super quickly, makes defenders miss like you talked about. He's a burner, but I still think he's got a little bit of that physical edge to him. Doesn't show up on every play, but I think he's just kind of got that grinding style, and I think that's why Claiborne's going to work in the league, as opposed to somebody that's just speed, if that makes sense. He can get knocked around as a pass blocker. This guy's not going to be a 3-down type of guy for you. But when he's got the ball in his hands, he's a very impactful player. You talked about that receiving ability. I think that's another way this guy gets on the field. Special teams is another one of those. So a backfield that needs a spark and an injection of speed with high effort, that's Damon Claiborne. And this guy had sneaky, maybe I think double the amount of missed tackles forced as a guy like Nick Singleton this year. So he can get up there with those numbers. It's not his calling card, those missed tackles forced through contact, but he will definitely make guys miss in a phone booth. I really like Damon Claiborne. He comes in at RB6. That feels high after the draft class that we just went through with those running backs. I think my RB6 last year, if I can think through it real quick, I think my RB5 was Quinshawn Judkins behind guys like Caleb Johnson and Travion Henderson and Omarion Hampton and Ashton Genty. So year over year saying this guy would have slotted 1 behind Quinshawn Judkins is kind of crazy. I think I had Dylan Sampson at 6, and I think Dylan Sampson's a way better player than Damon Claiborne. But you can only draft what the college game gives you, and I think Damon Claiborne hovers right around that top 5 mark for most people. 8, totally within the realm of possibilities. I think he is a bona fide top 10 back in this class, though. Loved watching him at Wake Forest. That offense leaned on him a lot, and he was able to have them overachieving this year. Not a lot of people had that team in a bowl game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love he did. Wait, I'm on the wrong one. Sorry. Like I said, what he had, his ability to cut is just something that makes me excited to watch. And in the NFL, everyone's looking for that. And so moved it down a little bit. I agree. I had Quinshon Judkins at running back 6. I had who was Caleb Johnson at running back 5, which
Arthur Smith, dude.
Yeah. It's still early for him too, but he did not have a fair chance in Pittsburgh. But
no. He muffed one kickoff and they exiled him, dude.
Yeah, it was like you got out to the wolves. You're done. You're never seeing the field.
Why was he returning?
That was not a good decision.
It's another story for another day, but they didn't need him returning kickoffs.
Yeah, no. But let's move on to my number 7. So is this the guy that you left off your list? That would be an honorable mention.
Le'Veon Moss and one other guy would be an honorable mention. Okay. Why don't you start with Le'Veon Moss and then we'll go to Emmett Johnson after him?
Okay, Le'Veon Moss for me. 6 foot, 210 pounds, missed the final 6 games of this year. He suffered an ankle injury. But this is a guy that if you go back to 2024, even 2023, like he has great speed and quickness. He's really good when his shoulders are to the line of scrimmage. He hits the holes hard. He can get skinny through run lanes, even if they're not there. Like you might not, kind of like what we saw with Kenneth Walker in the Super Bowl. Like he's patient. And then if it's not there, he's able to get skinny and make something out of nothing, or he finds it so that he can just hit the hole once it is there. He runs through initial contact very well, with a little bit bigger, stouter body, 6 foot, 210. He does run high. I think it's really hard for him to make cuts because he runs so high pad level, doesn't like to put his pads down really. He's not a great wide receiver. He had 4 drops on 33 targets, which again, I would like to see him have a little bit more contribution for him being my running back 7. And then his top speed isn't really there either. So listen, this is a hard guy to evaluate because he had the ankle injury, because he missed the 6 games, but I really liked what I saw in 2024. I thought he was very productive when he was in 2025 with Marcel Reed. That offense was doing really well when they were both in the backfield, and then he went down and it kind of limited what the offense could do, and it put it more on Marcel Reed's shoulders. So I would bet on this guy bouncing back from the ankle injury. He didn't get snubbed from the combine, did he?
God, I hope not, Jace.
I hope he didn't. So hopefully we get to see him run. Hopefully we get to see him do some of those things and maybe bounce back from his ankle injury. But I was a big fan of him. I remember he could have came out last year, I believe. Yeah. And so we evaluated him early last year. And then once he didn't declare, we kind of knew, okay, no need to evaluate him anymore. But I liked him a little bit last year. He probably would have pushed into maybe like my 10 or 11 spot last year. I'm looking at that list right now. And
he was off an ACL last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. In 23, he was off. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I watched him tear his ACL in person in 2024. Nicky Manwari, actually, I think.
You're bad luck, bro.
Was the culprit.
So, but like I'm looking at my running back 10 last year, and it was Bashal Tootin and RJ Harvey, who I really liked, but I probably would have put them very similar to those guys, in my opinion. So, like Le'Veon Moss, I understand why you probably kept him off because of some of the injury concerns, ACL and ankle injury, but I think if this guy has it all, he's a game changer, and he could be a very productive running back.
He's a big-bodied, physical dude. I think he has good contact balance. Kind of some of the concerns that you talked through. Runs high. I don't think he has great long speed. Not such a huge big play threat. Not a big-time receiver. And the ankle injury in 2025, ACL in 2024. I just think the consecutive injuries on a guy whose speed I'm already questioning. I think the combine 10-yard split will be big for him. Show up healthy. Hopefully he's able to do that. I don't know the status of his injuries or surgeries, if he's had any of those. But I think, listen, he's somebody that probably gets drafted ahead of the guys that I have at 10 and the guy I have at 9. McGowan with the age and off field, Kalon Black with the age and not being at the combine. But I think Moss is somebody that, again, another guy with a role because he's a big dude, contact balance. I just have some concerns about running high, the speed, and the injury. So that's why he's off of my list, but can totally see why you have him in there at 7.
Yeah, let's go to, like you said, we flip-flop 8 and 6. So I'll let you start off on Emmett Johnson, why you're a little bit lower. Very productive dude out of Nebraska. So tell me why I'm too high on him. Why you hate him? Why you should be
2 spots apart. I don't think I hate the dude. And I'm not sure you're in love with the dude having him at 6. Emmett Johnson was somebody, I can't lie, looking at the production and knowing what it was before watching him in depth, I was a little bit disappointed. I can tell why the hype is there. But I'll just kind of go through what I have because I think it's an interesting evaluation. A guy that had 2,500 career yards, 700 career receiving yards, 20 total touchdowns, just 3 fumbles, ton of missed tackles forced this year. That number at 66. We talked about Damon Claiborne had 36 this year. So that is a huge jump for Emmett Johnson, who's just at 5'11", 200 pounds. He's a super elusive ball carrier, good vision, and the good vision is, I think, what puts him on the field in the NFL. I know I have him at RB8, but the vision is why I think he's going to be an early day 3 pick. And he's got good receiving ability out of the backfield, can run real routes, not just swing routes. This guy can line up, take on a linebacker out of the slot in an empty set. So he brings a little bit of versatility as well. He was a bell cow for the Huskers this year, so you know he could carry a workload among the nation's leaders in yards, thanks to his ability to make tacklers miss, like I talked about. I think his power profile is limited. I think he can run right into that first defender and get brought down. I thought he got just stopped at the line of scrimmage often in situations where other guys in this class made that guy miss or kind of fell forward through them. He got 0 or -1 at times where I thought other guys in this class were able to get 1, 2, or 3 yards. And I think the pass blocking profile is not where you would like it to be. I don't think this is somebody that's going to be relied on as the best pass blocking back for his team, but I do think he profiles as a good complementary piece, and his ability to create in space and make tacklers miss is going to be coveted by a team that needs to fill that kind of role in their running back room. So I think he's another guy that, you know, has teams that he fits better on, and he'll fill a hole for somebody, but I don't think this is a do-it-all back. And I think a guy like Damon Claiborne profiles similar and maybe does more in a more explosive manner. But Emmett Johnson's a good player. I just think some concerns, as I outlined.
Yeah, I had Emmett Johnson a little bit higher just because, like you mentioned, his versatility in the slot or in empty sets, I think is what a team will he might get a little overdrafted because there might be one OC out there or one head coach out there who loves that skill set.
Totally see it.
He had 1,450 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, added 370 this year. His 68 missed tackles forced was 9th in the country amongst running backs. You said, I think he's really good hitting the hole. He has great acceleration initially through the line of scrimmage to get to the second level. His footwork is very good. He's able to stay on his feet very well, and he's able to make guys miss because he's super elusive and he's crafty with his feet. He can get skinny through holes, kind of like what I talked about previously. I think he's a pinball where he bounces off defenders. Like, he has good contact balance. When guys hit him, he's continuing staying up. They don't wrap up. It's hard for him to bring down. I 100% agree with you. I bounce outside. Was to get a little much for like I could just extra 3 or 4 yards, even though nothing's there, or try to at least, instead of, hey, I'm going to bounce it outside and now it's a 0-yard gain or it's a negative yard gain. So I thought that was a concern about him. His top end speed also. And then he is a high motor player. Like, I think when he has the ball in his hands, he plays hard. He will continuously go, but you hit it on the head. His pass pro game, I would like to see him try harder. And it is a little bit of a technique thing, but I would like to see him try a little bit harder. I was like, man, this guy, when he has the ball in his hands, when he has the ball in his hands, it's like, oh yes, cool, I'm the best player in the world. That's his mindset. But then it's almost like he shuts it down when he does it. And so I'm a little bit like, is that a mentality thing? Is he like, oh, I'm too good to block? I don't know, how exactly what it is. But again, for how hard he ran and some of those things, I'm like, it just doesn't look the same when he knows he's pass pro and he knows he's running a route or potentially getting the ball.
I felt the same way in that regard with Seth McGowan a little bit. For as hard of a runner as he is with that first step and explosiveness, I'm like, translate that to your pass blocking game. And, we're not out there. We're not in the meetings with these guys. We're not teaching them, seeing their technique on a day-to-day basis in practice. But sometimes it is confusing when you're watching a guy run and you're like, high motor, high effort, powerful. And then in pass pro, you're like, slow feet and kind of weak. Like, this isn't adding up. This isn't the same player. So hopefully that just means it's teachable. I think Emmett Johnson, post combine and just draft buzz, has a chance to be a riser throughout this process. I could see him jumping guys like Katron Allen and Damon Claiborne in my rankings. And then, we'll see what happens with the guy 5 that I have, who I think I am a little bit higher on than most people. I'll cover my guy at 5, who's not in your rankings. You'll go to your guy at 4, who's not in my ranking, and then we can jump into the top 3s because everybody after that, we'll spend some more time on. But I'll dive into Roman Hemby real quick. The 1A back for the Indiana Hoosiers, whose contact balance really stood out to me. Good cuts, acceleration, and the ability to get skinny in tight gaps and create yardage when there isn't really anything there. That's what stuck out to me with Roman Hemby. That's the trait that I'm like, this works. This guy can be a top 5 running back in this class. Hits the hole hard with a purpose. I don't think he's the most powerful guy, but I think he's got high effort behind every one of his runs, similar to how you talked about Emmett Johnson. Plays with passion. He's visibly upset when stuff goes wrong. Not much went wrong for Indiana, but that Iowa game was filled with struggles for them on offense. And just his body language walking off the field. It's stuff you don't like out of a quarterback, stuff you do like out of everybody else. Adequate receiving option. Don't think he's a great receiver, but I thought he was adequate in that regard. And he's good vision as he works outside or towards the second level. So once things start to clear up, once he gets through the line or outside the line, I thought he had good vision and looked comfortable as a ball carrier. I think he's got good hands. There's a major problem with Roman Hemby, I will say. He's ranks top 5 for me, and I'm not ashamed to say that there's a glaring hole in his game. I don't think he's just a average or below average pass blocker. I really think that this is an area of Roman Hemby's game that he struggles in, and I think there was going to be a lot of teams that are lower on him. I think he goes to a team that already has that box checked. That's kind of how I see this playing out, best case scenario for him, because I do think he is really good all around, maybe aside from that. He's not going to be considered a great pass blocker. I wish his first step was quicker as a runner. I think when Indiana needed that, they leaned on Kalon Black, and Hemby was able to complement him in the other ways. He's best for a gap scheme, even though I don't think he has that first step. I think his ability to attack the hole, and I think he can work on that first step because I do think he's an explosive dude. So I feel like it's in there. He's 23 years old, so older prospect, but not outlier old. And somebody that was, I believe, 1 year at Indiana, came from Maryland, not James Madison. And I like the fact that he got pushed out at Maryland. That's kind of the stuff that you read, and he said he got nudged out at Maryland. One of the bottom tier Big Ten schools, stayed in the conference, won a national championship, made that team look bad, as if Maryland couldn't do that enough themselves. But that's why I like Roman Hemby. Major concern about his pass blocking. Hope it's something that gets, fixed, and they could teach him to be a little bit of a better pass blocker. But I do really like where his game is in other aspects.
Yeah, and I'll hit on him real quick because he was my running back 11, so he would have been an honorable mention for me.
You don't totally hate him.
No, I don't. I think that this is a guy that's probably a late day 3 pick, potentially a super high priority undrafted free agent, because he runs hard. Like you said, one cut, tough runner, gets to where he wants to go pretty quickly with good acceleration. He runs with a purpose, very hard. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't take no for an answer, it seems like he will not be denied on a lot of things. I think that's just kind of Indiana's personality and, what that whole team was with Kirk Cignetti. So I'm good. I love his ball security too. Like, I think if you're going to be a little bit limited running back, you can't put the ball on the ground. I don't think he does. He doesn't do it very often. But the older prospect, not making you miss, runs high at times, already a little bit good build, thicker running back, but still he's probably going to measure in under 6 foot would be my guess.
And I don't think he plays as big as he's listed.
He doesn't.
And I think Kalon Black plays bigger than he's listed. So
yeah. So I listen, him and Kalon Black were fun to watch in Indiana.
They would make one hell of a running back.
You should combine them, and they might be like running back 3 or 2 or 3 in this class.
I think the combination of them exists in this class.
We might hit on it. So no, I like Hemby. If he makes it to an undrafted free agent, I think a lot of teams should jump on him. You can use a guy with his mentality, his running style in a lot of different schemes. So let me jump to 4. Talk about Nicholas Singleton. This is a guy that a lot of you should be familiar with. Yes. But he's fallen down a lot of boards, especially yours. You don't have him on there.
You were higher on him in the summer than I was, though.
I was.
This is not a shock.
I had him in summer scouting at running back 2, so I moved him down a little bit. Obviously,
where I had him, but it was lower than 2.
It definitely wasn't 2 because I know who you had at 2, and we'll talk about him here in a minute.
We will. So, I almost had that guy at 1.
547 yards, 13 touchdowns this year. He broke his foot during Senior Bowl practices, so that's going to be a huge storyline for Nicholas Singleton throughout the whole pre-draft process, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think this guy has elite level burst and acceleration. I think he loves contact. He makes dudes pay for trying to tackle him. He's a threat in multiple ways in both the run and the passing game. Contact balance is good. His vision has to improve. His lateral agility for how good of an athlete he is, like straight line burst acceleration, is concerning. Doesn't make a lot of guys miss for this elite level athlete that you would think he is. He needs to be able to make guys miss more in the NFL. And then I think that he is going to be a number 1 running back. And like I said, he just like more times than not, when he's one-on-one with a defender, he gets tackled. It's not vice versa. And I think that one of the hardest things for any level of linebacker, high school, college, NFL, is tackling a guy in open space. It's so hard. These guys are elite level athletes, and he doesn't make it. He makes the linebacker look good most of the time. And so that's a concern. I just think with his build, his size, thicker lower bodies, his elite athleticism, his acceleration and burst, there's enough things there that teams will want to take a chance on him in the 3rd or 4th round. I get he was not productive this year. And Penn State was a huge pooper for the whole season. Every position, their coach. I mean, listen, they probably shouldn't have fired him.
Katron Allen.
Oh, you're right. Katron Allen was really good. And Vega Iwana or whatever, who we'll talk about and stuff. So, listen, this is more of a what I saw in 2024 because his 2024 numbers were 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. It's a little bit of that, and that's what I think he can be. This was a bad year for him, and so that's why I moved him down. I don't think I could have had him as number 2 again like I did in summer scouting, but the tools are there. The tools are there for him to be an elite level running back. It's if some team can get him back to his 2024, 2023 form at Penn State.
I think why you're in on him, I totally see that, and that's why you're really high on him, and why you're out on him or why you're down on him is why I'm have him outside of my top 10. His size and athleticism at 6 foot 225 and a freak athlete who's going to destroy the combine has to create more missed tackles, has to have a better power profile, has to be a better blocker. I just feel like it feels like it's all there, and it just hasn't come together yet. And it certainly didn't come together this past year. He's still young, has great college production. And his potential, I think, is going to interest a team, whether that's in that like round 3 comp range or somewhere on day 3. But yeah, this is a high end athlete. I was left wanting more. And listen, I feel like if this is summer scouting where we have another year that we can wonder if it's going to come together. I just checked. I had him at 3 last year going into the summer. So was super high on him, wanted to see it come together. It didn't happen for Singleton. And that's, that's kind of it with what he gets to put on tape in terms of his prospect status. So that's why I'm lower on him, I think, significantly. But it's kind of both ends of the spectrum, and I think we kind of embody it well. How teams probably will sit on Nick Singleton. Some teams will probably say it never happened. Why should I expect it to happen in the NFL? Some teams will say because he's young, he's 21, and he's a freak athlete and has great size. That's why we're in on him. So I think that's the story of Nick Singleton. We'll see what the Senior Bowl injury does to his stock. But a very high variance player. And I'm kind of glad that we have him at 4 and at, well, I didn't really have to decide between 11 and 12, but 11 and a half.
There you go. Somewhere in the middle, somewhere outside of the top 10. That's all that matters.
That is. Yes.
But no, I mean, the youth, the explosion, the size.
This is a different story. I don't think this is a draft pick if he's 23.
And so I don't know. I'm willing to bet on some of those things at the running back position. Fair. And I think that, like you said, there's probably 14 teams that like him, 14 teams that don't, and then the other, handful are probably like, I have no clue what to do with this guy.
I'll let somebody else be right.
In the middle. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let someone else be right or wrong. We're not going to have an opinion on him. So, but all it takes is one. And I think that there's someone out there that will take a chance on him in the 3rd or 4th round. So let's move on though. We got our top 4 now, and you can see both of our 4s here, but we all have, I guess my 5 is in your top 4. So let's move on to, let's talk about Jonah Coleman. We're kind of the closest on him. You have him at running back 4. I have him at running back 2. So why don't you go ahead and talk about him? Because this was your preseason running back number 2.
This was my preseason running back 2. And in that show, I talked about why I almost danced with the idea of having him as my preseason RB1. I think Jonah Coleman is still a super impressive player. I've just been impressed by other players. I think there is a huge tier gap here in my rankings between Roman Hemby at RB5 and Jonah Coleman at RB4. I probably wouldn't take Roman Hemby until the later stages of the 4th round. Jonah Coleman is somebody that I would consider in the 2nd round, towards the end of the 2nd round. And there's nobody between Jonah Coleman and Roman Hemby in my ranking. So that just kind of tells you about, the tiers of this draft class. Coleman wasn't the most productive this year, battled some injuries, battled a dual threat running back for touches on the ground. But Jonah Coleman, when he was healthy, was super impressive. 5'9", 230, plays a little bit bigger than 230, and that's not an overweight type of comment. Jonah Coleman is a bowling ball who wins with contact balance and play strength. He's got it all in the contact aspect of his game, commands the point of contact with good pad level. He's a veteran back, understands that piece of the game. Agility and acceleration, those traits allow him to rip off chunks of yardage. I think he lacks some top end speed and could improve as a pass blocker. But I think this is the kind of player that can step into the role of a bursty downhill running RB2. I think teams should be comfortable taking this guy on day 2. The reason I'm a little bit lower on him is I feel like I lost the ability to see him as an RB1 at the next level. And that's not really a knock on him. It's just kind of that 5'9", 235 bruising back. I feel like that isn't a backfield leader at the NFL level. So that's kind of why I slid him outside of my top 3, because I can see my top 3 being that. But Jonah Coleman is still such a good player, and I actually think he's got a higher floor than 2 of the guys that I have in my top 3. I would say he's the 2nd highest floor in this class. Confident about his success. I just like the ceiling out of the other 2 guys better. And I think my 2, my 3, they're pretty close to where I have Coleman. So somebody I'm excited about, and certainly a change of tune from the rest of the guys that we've touched on in this class. I think these 4 guys, at least for me, maybe it's 3 for you. I'm certainly a little bit more confident about their success in the NFL and their future.
Yeah, I would say my top 3 are in a rank of their own, and then my 4 and 5, which we'll talk about my 5 here in a minute, we just hit on Nicholas Singleton, are probably in another tier. And then, it's pretty much everyone from 6 on down kind of lumped in one. But Jonah Coleman, sorry for me. Listen, I think that there's a lot of people overthinking this, and I'll put myself in this category last year with Cam Scatteraboo. I think Cam Scatteraboo got overthought. I thought they're like, oh, it's not going to translate to the NFL. Oh,
we'll see how long he lasts. Have that. But yeah, I agree.
That's very true. And that's what I was going to say with Jonah Coleman. He already has had a very heavy career in college. So how long does he last? He's 5'9", maybe 230 pounds, stout, bowling ball type of guy. He was at Arizona, followed Jed Fish to Washington. Has been there for 2 years now. Had a much better 2024 season where he had 1,100 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns. This year, he had 758 yards, 15 rushing touchdowns. He also added 346 receiving yards. I just, like I said, I think that there's something about this guy that he's going to have a very productive, and I shouldn't say long because he's an older
prospect. Never know with these guys.
But you don't know. I think that right now, obviously Cam Scatteraboo's dealing with an injury, but that dude looks like he's going to run hard forever, and he might just die running hard. Like he might still just be on the field one day at 30, and you're like, how did this guy make it here?
I thought you meant a different type of die.
No. Jonah Coleman, I just think that backs like this that don't flash, but they've been so productive. They're hard to tackle. He has really good lateral agility. He's like lightning in a bottle. He runs behind his pads. He's only had Well, where'd you find the second fumble at in 2025?
PFF, I don't know.
So PFF had him down for 1, and it was on a reverse. He took the handoff and tossed it as a reverse. I'm not saying you're wrong. I was just curious because I was like, oh man, this guy's never fumbled. Remember that was a huge thing in summer scouting.
Boise State in the bowl game is.
Okay, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I'd have to go back and see that, but yeah, they have him down for
the reverse against Illinois. Is my
Illinois?
Guess. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
that's not a real.
Takes the handoff and tosses it. And so, okay, let's say he has one career fumble because the Boise State one, right? But
that's a bowl game. That's a bowl game. Let's leave it out, count. Jace. He could have opted out. He could have opted out. He didn't because he's a gamer.
Yeah, so his stats don't count.
What's that total go to for his fumbles?
0.
It's a reverse in the bowl game.
It's a big donut.
Yeah, that's why we love Jonah Coleman. I know he's my RB4, but I kind of agree with you. Is this guy could get taken as a victim of the overthink just because he lacks some of the flash that a Damon Claiborne might have, an Emmett Johnson might showcase that these guys can rip off a big play. And not saying Jonah Coleman can't do that, but Jonah Coleman, I think, is a much more steady player than those guys.
Yeah, I mean, he did have an injury this year, a knee injury that he missed a couple games. Like I said, he already has a heavy career, but he's good in pass pro. He's a good runner. He can produce out of the backfield. I think there's a lot of teams that, is he a number 1 option? I think he's close to a number 1 option. I don't think he'll ever be the guy, but I think he could be a very quality 1B to a elite or to a kind of lesser number 1 running back, and he'd be really good. Like I could see him coming in year 1 and having a breakout year like Cam Scatterbo did. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt, but I could see he's ready to go right now in an NFL offense, the way he runs, the way he pass protects, all that stuff. Real big fan of Jonah Coleman. I think he should be taken in the mid to late second, at latest, probably early third. I just think production, all that stuff is something you're going to want from this guy. And shelf life for running backs, everyone expects it to be young. So why not take a guy right now that you could probably get to, like if you're a late second round team, like you said,
Seattle,
like if you're
low
Seattle,
moving cost,
if you're Seattle and you're like, hey, listen, we can take Jonah Coleman right here at 64 or whatever it is and pair him with
64, Jace. They won this.
Is it 64?
64. Yeah.
Sorry. That's why the Patriots are at 63.
Yeah.
Dang it. Shut up. Let's move on. I forgot about that. He is from Washington, so maybe he wants to just stay in Seattle. There you go. Maybe he wants to stay right there. It's a 20-minute drive to the stadium.
There you go.
But let's go on to, I want to talk about Mike Washington. You have him. So this is kind of the flip. You have him at running back 2. I have him at running back 5. Tell me why you're so high on him.
Woof. This is not somebody that I thought I was going to love when I turned on the tape. I saw 23 years old. Arkansas was his third school. Guy from Utica, New York. Went to Buffalo for 3 years, I think. Did a year at New Mexico State. And then found his way to Arkansas, where he really took off. This guy's nearly have 3,000 rushing yards in his career, nearly 500 receiving yards in his career, 30 total touchdowns, and 10 fumbles throughout his career. That's definitely a part of the concern with Mike Washington, but he stands at 6'2", 230, and he can run like the wind. I think he's an extremely powerful back. He possesses rare speed and burst for that size. I won't say it, Jace. I won't say it, but he reminds me of a current
You're gonna say it because
running back with that size and speed.
You're gonna say it, and I was gonna say it too. It's your guys' running back for the Ravens,
Derrick Henry.
Yeah, fumble issues and all. Oh
God,
sorry,
you can't do that to me.
Fumble issue. It's
fumble issues and all. It's true. It's 2025. And listen, I despise saying it. It feels like AJ Brown for receivers for me because it is such an unattainable status. We're talking about a Hall of Famer, what should be. He's too humble to ever say it, which is, I kind of like it as a Ravens fan. It means he's got more in the tank. But Derrick Henry won't call himself first ballot Hall of Famer. He's going to flirt with that. And Mike Washington, his size, speed, and the burst he has, because it's not just long speed with this guy. He can get out of the gates quickly. It's reminiscent of number 22, the former Bama Titan, current Ravens running back. little bit more on him from me. I like this guy's receiving ability as well. I think that's part of his game that will translate, and I think he really showcased that well at the Senior Bowl, stood out comparatively to the rest of those guys, consistently creating extra yardage, works through initial contact, brings his ball carrier strengths to his pass blocking. I just think the technique is a little messy, but I'm hoping that the technique can get cleaned up because he shows the aggressiveness in pass pro to at least want to make those plays, contrary to some of the players we talked about earlier. You know, I wish, there was some more aggression and attacking in those short yardage situations, which is kind of weird to me. You see only 9 touchdowns this year for Arkansas. I think he can overthink getting into the end zone sometimes, and I think that plays into some potential overthinks that I see with his vision on tape. His vision can be really good, but I certainly think that there's lapses at times. So I think vision and getting more aggressive on those short yardage situations. He's got the size and speed to be more aggressive, and cleaning up some of the techniques and pass blocking. But I don't think there's enough people talking about this guy. Is RB2 a little bit of a statement? Yeah, and I think that's fine, and I'm going to carry that flag. He's an early my guy, and maybe one of my bigger draft crushes in this cycle.
Listen, I get why you're in awe with him. I was a little bit in awe with him also. And then I started to look at 10 career fumbles. I think he's a little stiff due to his size. His sudden movements can be a little bit clunky. His pass pro for him being that size is not there. Route running, he can catch out of the backfield, but he's not. And you're not going to ask him to be a route runner. So that's an unfair comparison. I'm not saying that, but to be running back 2, a little bit high. But I get it. The Derrick Henry thing, it stood out in my mind too.
I'm glad it's not just me. Like,
it's not the, oh my gosh, he's going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL but when he gets up to speed, he's almost impossible to catch. His build is going to be elite for the NFL. He's downhill. He's like a train on tracks. Like like I said, when he gets going and he has an open lane, it's like, okay, here we go. This is a locomotive full speed ahead.
There's going to be a clip in the preseason. There's going to be a clip where an undrafted safety goes flying. I'm just going to say it. Yeah, he's going to
truck someone.
Oh, yeah.
Probably. But, I mean, for his size, too, like his starting and stopping ability is very impressive.
Yeah.
The top end speed, like all that. Like, listen, I get it. I get why he is going to be running back 2 for you. I don't see it. I would be very shocked if someone doesn't take a chance on this guy in the late second, early third, though. Also, like I said, right now, I have my 3 through 5. So the guy we'll talk about next, Nicholas Singleton and Mike Washington, all grouped together in a Nicholas Singleton and Mike Washington is what I meant to say, all grouped together in a category. And those guys are late second, early third round guys. And then my Jonah Coleman's, Jadarian Price, Jeremiyah Love. Well, Jeremiyah Love in the league of his own, but Jonah Coleman, Jadarian Price.
Guy.
Wait, LJ Martin, remember I sent that to you and you didn't believe me?
Jamal Haynes.
These two, Mike Washington and Nicholas Singleton, for me, are both, with their builds, with their elite athleticism, things like that, are someone will take a chance on late second, early third round guy. Jonah Coleman, I would take before them, a little bit more productive, a little bit probably more well-rounded of a prospect right now for a team. But I could see why someone would fall in love with a Mike Washington easily at Arkansas, just like you. Yeah. That guy right there on the screen, he's pointing at him. He loves him.
Who? Yeah, it's me.
Yeah, the guy behind you. So, but I did spoil it a little bit. Both of our running back 3.
Shocker.
The true the second Notre Dame running back, Jadarian Price, out of Notre Dame. Listen, this guy, a lot of people are going to look at it. 674 yards, 11 touchdowns. Well, guys, the number one guy that we're going to talk about here in probably 5 minutes is probably one of the best running backs we've seen come out of college, except for Bijan Robinson and Ashton Genty in the last couple of years. Like he's going to be a top 15 pick. Who knows how high, but he will be a top 15 pick in my opinion. So Jadarian Price takes a little bit of a step back for him. 5'11", 210 pounds, very patient runner. I think he's very good in either scheme, zone, or gap. I don't think you have to play him in one or the other. He's good at setting up his cutback lanes, his cutback moves. He has very good vision. His jump cuts, he gets deep into the hole, and then he can jump cut out to make guys miss or to break a run there. Again, special teams value. I said that again with, who was it, Claiborne? Was it Damon Claiborne?
Yeah, Claiborne.
Who had 2 career. Well, this guy had 3 career kickoff return for touchdowns. So
and he's awesome. Claiborne may not do that for whatever team takes him. Price is going to return kicks.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that he had a 34 plus yard average return in his career. He was so good at it.
Incredible number.
And I think that plays into why he's a good running back, is like good vision, good burst, ability to make guys miss, hits the hole hard. So he'll do that for whatever team he is there. I wish he was a little bit more of a receiving threat. I thought he could be a little bit more physical in short yardage situations, put his pads down, run a little bit harder. He did have 3 fumbles on 113 carries this year. And then he doesn't get up to speed really quickly after he makes his cuts. He's a little bit more of a, hey, I got it. Once I get going, I got my speed, but I don't have it right away. It's like, make a cut, he could get caught from behind or something. So listen, I do think that this guy is really good. I think him and Jonah Coleman are in a class of their own behind our number 1 guy, Jeremiyah Love, who we'll talk about here in a minute. But this is a guy who, even though he doesn't have the numbers, he doesn't have the production like some of these guys, he sat behind our number 1 running back and probably everyone's running back 1 in the 2026 draft class. Yeah. So I mean, maybe you'll have Mike Washington in front of him here in 2 or 3 weeks.
No, likely not.
Okay. But I'm sure we see him eye to eye because we both had him at running back 3. But Jadarian Price is a very productive, and he's going to be good when he can own a backfield by himself. Yeah. He'll have those numbers.
Yeah, 36 yards a pop on those kickoff returns throughout his career. He's north-south runner, but I think he's got the ability to do more. The vision is, I think, second best in this class. Really impressed by that. Good power, the vision and his speed. Not that he's got great speed, but he's got good speed. The vision paired with that speed is what makes him an excellent kick returner. I thought he had limited pass blocking and receiving opportunities, which limited his success in those areas. But listen, I think that's something that could just improve with time for this guy. So there's some what if with Jadarian Price, what's going to happen when he owns a backfield, but he's somebody I'm confident in. And he could be tremendous value because we never got to see him own a backfield in college. I think there is RB1 upside with this guy. Absolutely. And I think you look at a fit like the Houston Texans for somebody looking for a more physical player to complement Woody Marks in the absence of Joe Mixon, because you don't know how much longer Nick Chubb's going to be around. Jadarian Price, really good player. And RB2 for most, RB3 for us, RB2 at Notre Dame.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be running back number 1 when you have that guy, when you have the guy who you have there in front of him. So I was going to say another fit for him would be Dallas, but I don't think he's a first round running back. Dallas doesn't have a second or a third round pick, but like if they move on from Javonte Williams or whatever, they need a running back. I like the Houston fit there. A couple teams, mid to late second round that will want to take a guy. Listen, I know that Denver just took RJ Harvey, but Denver,
they need another running back.
They need another running back. He could be a Denver, they could take him and have Jadarian Price and RJ Harvey, who I believe are 2 totally different running backs. So, there's going to be a team that will want him. And I do agree with you. There's some needy teams out there that would love to have this guy as their 1A or their number 2 and build him into what their number 1 guy will be here in a year or 2. So really fun to watch him though. Wish he had more opportunities. Like you said, I think it would have been so fun to see him just dominate a whole backfield, because I think he would have had those numbers. He might've been our running back number 2 if he had way more opportunities.
But well, without further ado,
who is
Jeremiyah Love?
He's pretty good.
RB1 for you, RB1 for me.
Shocker. We're standing on a table with this one.
RB1 maybe in 2025. Are you there yet? Can I interest you in a Jeremiyah Love over Ashton Genty? Can I?
I don't think I would have done it. No.
I think I might be there.
Really?
But it's all kind of hypothetical stuff. We'll see what happens when my final grade populates in my little Excel sheet. But I also have, it's tough. Formulas change, hard to compare year over year. But the fact that we're having that conversation is because crazy. Jeremiyah Love is such an impressive football player. Bijan Robinson over both of them, just real quick from me. But this guy rules. He might be a top 10 running back in the NFL before he takes his first snap. That's the kind of talent we're talking about. Elite change of direction acceleration, agility, and more parts of his game are also elite. Fights for extra yards at the end of runs, which is not something every 6 foot, 214 running back does, 214-pound running back does. Amazing receiving threat as well. Makes him a threat on all downs, especially third downs. He's a totally capable blocker. Most teams with 2 very good running backs, one of those guys is a better running back than the other. Usually the RB2 finds a way to be a better running back in the blocking game than the RB1. But we didn't get to see many blocking reps out of Jadarian Price because Jeremiyah Love stays on the field at all times because he's good at everything. He's got a unique ability to create his own yards when things break down. I think that's kind of a trait that only the elite running backs get to have. I have it when I'm taking notes. It's kind of like a create category, and it goes along with the acceleration and the vision and the power and the receiving and the blocking. And it doesn't get many notes for guys because there's just a lot of times that, most guys, there's 2 guys in the backfield, 0 yards. And why should they get any yards? Because the O-line combusted. But Jeremiyah Love is able to create something out of nothing. And that's why he is a top 3 player in this class for me. Top 2, as a matter of fact, on my rankings. I love this player. I think he should be a top 10 pick.
I mean, there's no doubt that he'll be a top 10 pick, in my opinion. I think there's 2 teams at 8 and 9 that would love to take him now. If they pull the trigger and take him, that's a different story. But I'll just read off some of his stats. And 3, Arizona.
Yeah, and 3, Arizona.
Don't you
James
think
Conner's 31. Arizona needs an offensive line. I agree that they shouldn't do it.
I was going to say there might be a little bit. There's interest, but is it realistic? Okay, I could see that. But let me just read off some of his stats because what you said about him is perfect. Like, we're not going to be far off, and most people probably won't because when you watch the film or watch a game, you understand why he's so good. 3rd in yards after contact per attempt with 4.5. So 4.5 yards after contact per rushing attempt he has is incredible. 896 yards after contact was the 6th most. 2nd most yards per carry, which was 6.9 yards. 23 carries of 15 plus yards. Explosive guy. Listen, in high school, you knew this guy was going to be elite because he had a 10.5 400 meter. He has that top end speed. You saw the elite combination of agility, speed, and explosion. You saw him able to make guys miss. Receiving threat. He can hurdle guys. He makes highlight plays, which again could be a little bit of a concern just because you're like, oh man, one bad fall and he breaks an arm or he comes down on his neck or whatever. But
welcome to running backs.
Exactly. That's why they don't have a big shelf life, but he makes those highlight plays. He runs hard. Even though he's 6 foot, 200, he's got a little bit of a skinnier build. Like he's not stout.
Yeah. He doesn't look like what Katron Allen's 225. This guy's not 11 pounds lighter to the eye.
That's what's crazy.
Yeah, but
like him standing next to Jadarian Price, I would have said Jadarian Price is bigger.
What is Jadarian Price's weight?
I have him at 210.
That's a lie.
See, I agree. So I think that's a little bit of a lie. And maybe that's
seen Jadarian Price's arms.
Like how big they are?
Yeah. Huge.
He's got 50 pounds in those arms at least. He's got bazookas.
It disappears. It's like the bicep. The dude is huge. But all that to say, Jeremiyah Love, 214, 215,
Yeah, but like he's skinnier. He's just built a little bit like
different.
Skinnier. Yeah, different than others. But it's like he's big. Like he could put on maybe 5 more pounds of muscle to make him look a little bit bigger and maybe help him take, a whole season of being a NFL 1 or a running back 1 in the NFL on that workload. But he's not light. He's not 200, 195. Like he looks good. He looks athletic. He looks fast. He is fast. He is athletic. He is good. He's elite. That's all I'm going to say about him. He is the real deal. Like, listen, I know there's a lot of talks in the NFL about like what's a running back's value, but guys like Jeremiyah Love, guys like Bijan Robinson, guys like Ashton Genty don't come around often. I know they've came around in the last couple drafts, but these guys are top 10 pick worthy. He fits in that category. Where you'd rank him amongst those guys as prospects is for another debate, but he is easily worthy of a top 10 pick. He's a game changer on offense. He can take the ball and be an immediate impact guy. He can take it to the house on one play. He can make a dude miss on the other, get a 40-yard gain. He's a game-changing player at a position that, in my opinion, is still really effective in the NFL. Although people want to say, hey, There's only 4 or 5 years in the NFL for a running back. Well, this guy
Let's
could be
make it 4 or 5 really good years.
Yeah, and this guy will have 4 or 5 really good years, could be a first-team All-Pro guy with all the traits he has, all the productive. He's carried it a lot already in college, so he has experience. This guy's worthy of a top 10 pick. No need to overthink it. No need to, downgrade him. And, like you said, he'll probably end up being a top 3 overall player for us when we get to our big boards, no matter, position or not.
What is he, 20 on draft night?
Yeah, he's still super young.
He's great. That's all. I think the eval's over. You got him or Bijan. You have Genty.
I would take Bijan, Genty, Jeremiyah Love. That would be my rankings of the guys.
I think just to break the tie, be a little different. Because I really could see it going either way. I think I'd have Bijan, Love, and Genty. But
yeah,
I mean, all three are great players. I think the Saints is an amazing spot. They finally built the O-line. They got their quarterback for the next, who knows, couple years, maybe a lot more than that. I think we'll still see. But for the next couple years, they got the quarterback box checked. Good receiver. And I think the mistake that maybe the Raiders have made and the Falcons had made at the time, not that they took the wrong players, but just their offensive lines weren't ready to support the player that they drafted at the time, or they didn't have a quarterback to have a dual threat offense. Desmond Ridder and Geno Smith and those O-lines weren't doing much for Bijan and Genty. But I think a team like the New Orleans Saints is in a position to have Jeremiyah Love accelerate a rebuild. And a team like the Kansas City Chiefs is in position to have Jeremiyah Love make a lot of people tear their hair out. So this guy rules, man.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's going to be fun to watch in the NFL for a long time to come. So super excited to get to see. I have a number 1 pick in one of my dynasty leagues, so I'm praying for a good landing spot for him because,
there you go.
I would love to take him number 1, but I do think it's for dynasty at least. It's because Ashton Genty is going to be an awesome running back, but Vegas they needed a lot more than a running back last year, and that would be the same. That'd be the Cardinals situation.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned it before we get out of here because we unintentionally touched on it with DJ Giddens, but at this position, it is so, especially for these later round guys that we like to project, where where they will end up. Draft capital and landing spot are so important at the running back position because just the fact of the matter is that the round 7 running backs, as good of a prospect as you might have thought they were, they may not get an opportunity. And those guys that maybe you weren't so high on that got taken in the 3rd round, they may get that opportunity. And obviously the landing spot dictates a lot of that. You and I love DJ Giddens, still do. He went behind Jonathan Taylor. So that's how it goes. It's a tough position. As we say, haven't said this in a year, but haven't done positional rankings in a while. As we say, we're evaluating for an invisible team that does not exist. We don't have a 3rd down back on our team that we need to add a lead back to. We don't have a team. We're just evaluating guys across the draft class. And landing spot in the NFL determines a lot of how this plays out. But that's the fun of running backs.
Yeah, it is. It's a fun position. And it's not as good of a class as last year. That might have been a generational class, just like you said. Like you go back and look at the 2025 class, and I go down Genty, Hampton, Travion Henderson, Giddens, Caleb Johnson, who is still yet to be seen. But then you got Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scattaboo, Bayshaw Tootin. You were huge on Kyle Moynon guy, who's going to be a really good running back.
Yeah.
Listen, they might not have as much elite talent in this year's class, but there's a lot of really good running backs that still are in this class. And
a lot of role players
alone. Yeah. The running back position alone is always there's always dudes found in the 4th or 5th round that are contributors that make the NFL roster and are really good. So there's going to be a lot of guys in this class that we just talked about that will get drafted to a team and have an impact early, probably within some point of year 1, most likely, and for sure by year 2. That's just how the running back position works.
It's a fun group to evaluate. A lot of it is a mystery. And I guess that's the fun part and the part that sucks about it. But it is what it is. Guy for me last year, Devin Neal, really liked him. Didn't think he had a great landing spot. All of a sudden, Kamara gets hurt, and I'm like, there it is. See? But all right, I think we can run through these one more time before we head out of here. I had at 10, Seth McGowan, 9, Kalon Black, 8, Emmett Johnson, 7, Katron Allen, 6, Damon Claiborne, 5, Roman Hemby, 4, Jonah Coleman, 3, Jadarian Price, 2, Mike Washington, and number 1, Jeremiyah Love.
And then I had number 10, Seth McGowan, number 9, Katron Allen, number 8, Damon Claiborne, number 7, Le'Veon Moss, number 6, Emmett Johnson, number 5, Mike Washington Jr., number 4, Nicholas Singleton, number 3, Jadarian Price, number 2, Jonah Coleman, and number 1, no shock, same as Max, Jeremiyah Love, future All-Pro Jeremiyah Love, future top 10 pick Jeremiyah Love.
You said no shock. I thought you were going to say no Sean Marino was your RB1.
For those of you guys that missed the inside joke, I did send my top 10 list to Max to make the graphics, and I put LJ Martin as number 1, just to see if he'd catch it or be like, oh, like the message, and then as he's typing it out, like, oh, wait, what? And we both loved LJ Martin, but he obviously went back to school out of BYU. So
him and Mark Fletcher, excited for those guys.
Yeah, that'll be good class again next year. Who's the North Texas guy too? Did he just go to Hawkins? Did he just go to Oklahoma State with the coach?
State. Yeah,
he'll be a fun one to watch too because and then oh gosh, is the Missouri running back draft eligible next year?
Ahmad Hardy is eligible next year. Justice Haynes comes out, transferred from Michigan to Georgia Tech.
Yep.
Yeah, lots of fun players in that class next year. Some good talent at the top this year, and couple guys that Jason and I are rolling the dice on later on in our lists. Stick around for wide receivers. We'll have that coming up for you guys. Maybe we'll mix in a midweek mock or take a week off of rankings, throw a mock in there. We will figure it out as we often plan the show as the week goes on, and don't really know what we're doing until the episode starts. But that part's a lie. We're usually pretty organized day of. Come on. Got to give ourselves credit. But for Jace Campbell, I'm Max Shostak. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.